Hello, good people. It's me, Kumanawa, your money manager. I'm excited to be here. And in today's video, I want to take you through the process of changing land use from residential to multi-residential. I will be sharing with you my personal experience, having gone through the process twice. So I'm not sure whether the process is standard across the country with different authorities, different land boards, and different local administrative authorities, or I don't know, but I'm sharing with you my experience based on what I have gone through. Why is it important for you to consider changing your land use? You know, land is very precious, and the first thing sometimes that you can do to improve the value of your land without any development is changing the land use from residential to multi-residential. And multi-residential will fall under commercial property. Commercial property is more valuable than residential property. That's one thing that you have to understand. So by just so doing, you are enhancing or improving the value of your land without breaking a bank. So what is commercial property? Like I've said, multi-residential property will fall under commercial property. So commercial property is any land use that is intended for income generation. So you're doing it specifically for generating income. It's more of a business driven profit motive, so that will fall under commercial property. And when we look at multi-residential, so anything that is of 5 units and above will be considered multi-residential. So joining with me as I take you through our experience of changing land use from residential to multi-residential. We've gone through the process twice, both in Mau, changing one plot in Boseja, the one where we've developed our Mawan rooms, and then changing the other one in Sidir, the one where we are currently building our bachelor pad units. So let's go through the process. The first step that you are going to take is application for physical planning and building permits. What do we mean by this, and where do you do this? You do this with your local council physical planning office. And how do you go about doing this? Let's now break it down into the steps that we have to take for you to apply for physical planning and building permits. The first thing that you have to do is you need to engage a qualified architect, somebody who is going to help you with the drawings of your proposed developments, because you need those drawings. And mostly, if you are going to appoint a qualified and an experienced architect, you don't have to worry about anything, because they will own the entire process from start to finish with the physical planning office. So though that's what you do, you appoint an architect. The architect is going to help you with the drawings for your proposed developments. So you are also going to need to do what we call neighbors consultation. So remember, you are living in a community, obviously you've got neighbors. You need to consult and get their consent to what you are doing, the change of land use. Normally you are required to bring 3 neighbors consultation consent signed, 3 from 3 neighbors, so that should be sufficient. And then you're also required to advertise or publish your proposed developments or your proposed change of land use. You can either do this with a newspaper, or you can do it through the government gazette. So you are required to do this for a minimum of 14 days period. So after 14 days period, then you are ready to move to the next step. So it means that you are going to submit your draft plans, your neighbors consultation, as well as your proof of advertisement, and obviously other supporting documentation such as title, your certificate if you have a certificate for your plot, your lease if it's a lease that you do hold. You would submit this to the physical planning office, and you will wait for them to go through your application and make a decision from there. This first step, we took a minimum period of 3 months. For the Boseja plot, it was quite a very simple process, because the plot was empty. It only had a 1 room and a pit latrine. Remember, back then you wouldn't transfer any land without any development. So those were the developments that were done to allow for the transfer. So we just had to submit the the proposed developments, the drawings for the proposed developments with those other things that I mentioned. So it was quite an easy process. So for the Sidia plot, because we took the decision to develop without getting the necessary approvals, we had a bit of work to do here. So our application entailed approval for change of land use to multi-residential. We also had to regularize what we had already built, and in that regularization you are charged a fee. So regularizing is more like you want to start the process from end backwards because you built without the necessary approval. So you're going to pay a penalty. I don't know whether to call it a penalty, but they call it a regularization fee. We paid 3,000. And on when they came to inspect the developments, they also realized that we had violated some of the building control requirements in terms of spacing from the boundary to the unit. So we were also charged 2.5, and we also had to apply for a waiver of those violations. So our submission was change of land use, regularization, and waiver of violation. And yes, we submitted, and after submission you would wait, yes, definitely, for the final decision. So here we waited for a period of 3 months. Yes, 3 months. And after 3 months we got our approval. For Boseja, we got the approval. It was just an approval. And then for Sidia, we got a conditional approval. They required us to submit a structural report for the buildings that we have already started, and also to submit an environmental impact assessment. So all these submissions, additional documentations that they required, because we had an experienced architect, he facilitated everything. All that we had to do was to pay the fees for the reports. For the structural report, we paid an additional 2.5, and then for the environmental impact assessment, we also paid, I think it was another 2.5. So add all of this as the 2.5 times 3 plus 3,000. So that will be 11.5. That's what we paid over and above the architectural fee, the drawings. The fees that we had to pay for the drawings, it was about 12,000. So collectively here we paid a total of 11,500 plus 12,000, that's 23,000 for us to get everything. So after 3 months, we gotten our approval from council, approval of change of land use together with the building permits. We proceeded to the next stage. The second stage was the submission to land board for the change of land use that was approved. Now, as for me, it's for it to be reflected on our title. That's what we did. So for this change of land use, now with land board, what we had to submit was first the council approval. So we submitted that council approval. We had to complete the land board application form. Yes, the land board application form. We also submitted the what do you call it, the title, the lease. We had a lease at the time. And then here what we did is we took an advantage to say, as we are doing the change of land use, we are also going to transfer the land from our individual ownership to a company. So our submission was change of land use and transfer to our company. Because now we were involving a company, we also had to submit supporting documentation, and the most important one is the board resolution that for the land to be transferred to the company, the decision has been taken, and also showing the authorized signatory on behalf of the company. So that was the resolution, and for this we paid a total of 260. And one other requirement was that we had to settle the lease fees. No outstanding lease fees when you do the change of land use or you do the transfer. So if there are any outstanding, you have to settle them. Yes, you have to settle them. Obviously, you're settling them with land board. That is what we did. And then with land board, how long did the process take? It took whole 6 months. And it wasn't an easy 6 months. It was a 6 months of back and forth, following up with the office and sometimes not getting a satisfactory answer, back and forth. But 6 months is the time period that we took. So collectively, for the entire process of change of land use from residential to multi-res, it was a whole 9 months, close to a year. So what you need to understand and acknowledge here is that as an investor, a property investor, you are going to go through some processes or procedures that are entirely beyond your control. And what you have to exercise here is a great level of patience, and which is also a critical trait to have as an investor, because investing is a game of patience. If you don't have patience, then investing is not going to be appealing to you. This is the process that we had to go through to change from residential to multi-res. Like I've said, I don't know if the process is standard across, but I'm sharing my experience. This is what we had to go through. I hope this experience will help you if you are intending to change your land use from residential to multi-res. This is all that I had for you today. Thank you so much for your time, for watching. I will see you in another video. Bye.